Well, Todd Hooper, thank you for joining us today on Small Biz Live. We are so excited to learn about you and about Pacific Sangha Tattoo. Yes, I was, after we had our little conversation the other day when I was grilling you and asking you all kinds of questions, I just couldn't stop thinking about all the things that you've been involved in. And I'm pretty excited to share that with everybody today.
That's cool.
Thanks for joining us. So let's start at the beginning. First of all, you are born and raised in Redondo Beach, probably, and you've got a business in Redondo Beach. So that's a unique story just in itself, right?
Yeah, that's been something that's been really, really cool for me to be able to do that, to be able to open my shop in my hometown. So
yeah. And so tell us about the name Pacific Sangha Tattoo. How did you come up with that name?
Randomly enough, my original thought was Pacific Rim, because we're in the Pacific Rim and Pacific's a big deal for me. And but I've been a practicing Buddhist for I should say Buddhist, because I'm the greatest Buddhist in the world. But for many, many years, and a good friend of mine who also is, does that, said, dude, you should call it Pacific Sangha. And Sangha is Pali, it means community, family. And it was just perfect, because that's the kind of, that's what I'm shooting for, is we are a really tight-knit group, and we like our clients to feel that way. I always tell everybody, stop in for a cup of coffee. I don't care if you're getting tattooed or not. Just come in and say hi, be part of the Sangha. So,
yeah, I love that. That's kind of what we try to do at NRBBA, is just make sure everybody realizes that we're a tight-knit community. It's the neighbors and the businesses together that make our community. And I love that Sangha means community. When I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this is just perfect.
Yeah, it worked out really good.
So tell us about your logo. I found that to be fascinating. Obviously, you designed it yourself, being, an artist and everything, but tell us how you came up with that.
Well, I mean, I drew it the way it is, but it's originally obviously different, it's a logo from a local Hermosa Beach punk rock band called the Circle Jerks, and it's a punk rock kid, and he's dancing, and so I kind of bastardized that into the monk being Sangha, and all that, and so that it's kind of an homage to the South Bay punk rock scene, which of course I was part of when I was, a young man, and all that. And I actually saw the singer in a store in Hollywood, a bookstore in Hollywood. And so I had to go up to him and cop to the fact that I borrowed the initial design, and he was real cool about it. He thought it was cool and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Could you show him your logo?
Did you have it? I did. It's actually, I had it on a card, but it's on my neck too. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that makes it kind of easy to show people. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the tattoo business. Tell us, like, how did you get involved in tattooing, and how, why did you open up your own tattoo parlor, your tattoo shop?
I guess I got into it just young, getting tattooed a lot. I've been heavily tattooed for a very long time, and I became really close with the shop that I frequented, and that's where I learned to tattoo, and then the kind of fell into it, really, I guess, and then I'm an artist. I've always been an artist. When I learned to tattoo, I was a special effects makeup artist for film and television. So I worn many hats, and that's one of them. And So when I started tattooing full time, worked at different shops and stuff like that, and I took what I liked and didn't like from the different shops I worked in, and thought, okay, I'll do this, but I won't do this for sure. And so I've created what I believe, of course, that's my humble opinion, to be a really good space and a really good shop. And, it's very friendly. It's very welcoming.
And that's something that you found was a little bit unique. And when you say the things you didn't like, one of them was, sometimes tattoo shops weren't really welcoming and you wanted to make sure yours was.
Yeah, not aside from the fact that tattooing isn't what it used to be. It's very, very different. The industry has completely changed since the way it was, many moons ago.
Right.
We're not tattooing bikers and gangsters and outlaws all the time. I mean, we do sometimes. Not, it's our main clientele are either young people who have no idea about that era, or soccer moms and just completely normal folk. Tattooing has become much more acceptable than it once was. So
it is.
But you can't. Well, I mean, I guess some tattooers. I shouldn't really say that. There's I should say, certain percentage of tattooers that are really full of themselves, really think they're something special. And it's just like, and it really shines in their attitude. They really are unfriendly and not really that awesome to be around. And I personally don't want to work with somebody like that. Aside from the fact that it's just not a good way to run a business, but I'm a tattooer and I got to be here all the time too, and I just don't want to hang out with a jerk all the time. So I don't allow it in my shop.
And you were telling me that you have a pretty exceptional team. Everyone, really enjoys what they're doing. And some of the other things that you were focusing on is, just making sure like your shop is like super clean and sanitized. And sometimes that was something that you saw at other tattoo shops that you didn't really care for too much.
I am very OCD, and sterilization and cleanliness is absolutely paramount as far as I'm concerned, and I think everyone should be in this industry. And I've been in shops that are
I'm losing you a little bit.
What's that?
Oh, I couldn't hear what you said. You said you've been in shops that were
disgusting.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
filthy and just gross, And then of course I've been in really good shops too. So I mean, it's each one's different. I'm just a real stickler about cleanliness and sterilization and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, obviously that's really good for people to know. Every day that's good for people to know, but especially in the environment we're in right now, it's even more important for people to know that. So Todd, I do want to talk a little bit about your background because it's so fascinating. But before we do that, I know what you mean about, like the soccer moms are getting tattoos. I mean, I have a tattoo. I'm not a soccer mom, but I got it when I was in my 30s, and I probably need a little refresh because the ink isn't that, bright anymore. But tell us like how, it's a little intimidating to walk into a tattoo shop if you haven't ever had a tattoo before. So can you give us some tips for people who are maybe thinking about getting a tattoo, and how to actually make the leap and actually walk into the tattoo shop or contact you, or what's the best way to do that?
I mean, everybody's different. Me personally, I like and I learned this right away because I went into a shop And I think it was my third tattoo I got, and this was obviously a couple days ago. And the guy that did it was a complete jerk. And like, I just, I'm already involved in the tattoo, so I'm stuck with it, or I'm stuck with this guy.
Right.
It was a really uncomfortable, bad experience. And literally every time I looked at that tattoo after that, that's all I could think about was what a jerk that guy is.
Yeah.
And I thought, and this was before I was tattooing or anything like that, but when I started tattooing, I thought, man, I'll never do that. Like, I don't ever want to be that guy that the tattoo is ruined by a crappy attitude, And when people come in, I guess my best advice would be, because it depends. Every shop is different. If you don't vibe with the guy or girl or woman or whomever that is doing the tattoo, if they've got an app or whatever, split. There's plenty of other tattooers out there who are that you might get along better with.
How do you know that? Like, how do you like, I mean, I feel like it would be the same situation you were in. Like, by the time you're already into it, you're like, I don't like this person. So like, how do you know that, like, right off the bat? I would just say, go to Todd, now that I know you. I mean, I easily can make that recommendation, but, and everybody listening needs to go to you too. But how would somebody know, like, if they're going to, get a good vibe or feel comfortable with that person who's giving them the tattoo?
Well, you can kind of tell right away, when you walk with any, when you talk to anybody for the first time, you get kind of a, if they walk in and they're like, what do you want? Which happens a lot, may not be the guy for
right.
it.
So what are some of the things people need to think about when they're getting a tattoo for a first timer?
I would say, okay, here's one thing. They have all these TV shows about tattooing and stuff like that. What they don't show on those TV shows is how long it takes, because it takes a lot longer than a commercial break, and what it costs. These people get these elaborate tattoos, and they don't tell you what it would cost for a tattoo like that. So people come in and, like, they're surprised. They think they're going to get a back piece for $200 or something. It's like, not going to happen.
So what would be, I mean, is there any way to even give us an idea of, like, what a cost for a tattoo would be? Like, maybe something that's like this big and colorful. I mean, can you even, or does it matter where it is? And
it does. It all depends on the design. Most tattoos are based on time. So, how long we think it's going to take and the, and stuff like that. Basically, so like my shop is, every shop has a shop minimum, where, like, we're not gonna, because it's very expensive to tattoo. The equipment's very expensive. It's expensive to run the business. People say, oh, you make so much, blah, 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 whatever it is, an hour. And they think, you're killing it. Well, we're not always working. We're drawing for 6 hours on your tattoo that we're not getting paid for. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't seem to think about. But so, like, our shop minimum is $80, and which is kind of lower these days. And
that would be a pretty small, like a small flower or something like that.
Depends on the design. It could be one dot. It could be, something more.
Okay.
It completely depends on how long we think it's going to take. And you could get something the size of a nickel that's very, very intricate, and it might cost more than $80. I doubt it, but nickel's pretty small. But
yeah.
That's kind of the thing. Is it's $150 an hour at my shop, which again is these days kind of low. But we try to take, I'm not out to break anybody's bank, or I'm not. I'm not even really. And this is going to sound kind of weird and probably like telling the truth, but I've lived too long and experienced too many things to know that money does not buy happiness. Happiness comes from you being comfortable with yourself and the people you surround yourself with, and stuff like that. So I kind of, that's why I don't up the prices really. I just want everybody, like my artists, I want them to make money. I want them to be happy. I want our clients to be happy. There's just really no reason not for everyone to be satisfied with the experience. And
Well, it's a long-term memory. So you need to be satisfied with the experience. I mean, I guess one thing that I would think would be really helpful is if someone's interested in getting a tattoo and they don't know too much about it, to come in and visit with you, show you kind of what they're interested in, talk to you about it, get an idea of how long it is, and then make an appointment to come back later.
that's really the way to go. And that way you get to meet the artists you're going to be working with and see if you buy with them, and if you like their art designs and thoughts and whatnot. These days, a lot of people come in with images they've found off the internet and which is helpful, because it's either that or we're trying to dig out what you're thinking out of your mind, and so if you got images that you like, then we'll know what you're kind of thinking about, and then take those and draw something personal for you. And but I mean, sometimes people come in and they say, I want this exact thing right here, and they can do that. Like, people will come in with their children's drawings, a drawing that their children.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, and this is like, I love you, mommy, or whatever. We'll copy it exactly the way, even the bad lines and the little weird things that kids do, we'll put that right on there. So that's the point of it. You want to look exactly like the way your kid did it. So,
and you come from a family of artists, right?
yeah, my sister's an artist and my mother was a good artist.
And you told me a pretty cute little story about how you wanted to get a tattoo when you were 16, but
Yeah, I wanted to get a tattoo when I was 16, and my mom begged me to wait till I was 18. I think she thought I was going to change my mind, but you see how that worked out.
Yeah.
I actually found a couple pictures my family's surfers all the way back, and so every weekend my family used to go down to San Onofre. My parents would pack us into a van and we'd all go down to San Onofre and spend the day surfing.
How fun.
Yeah, it was a good childhood. And I found a picture of me as a little kid, that my mom had drawn an anchor on one side of my arm, something else on the other side. I don't remember. So I had these two drawn on tattoos, which I think she was probably thinking like Popeye or something like that. I don't know what she was thinking. But I did find that picture and I was able to blame her. I'm like, see, you started it.
Before you were 16, she did that.
Oh man, I was like 8.
See, yeah, she did start it. That's a good point. Good point. Hey, can you give us a quick tour around the shop so we can see what it looks like on the inside?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I'll try to make this as motionless as possible.
Yeah, I don't know if you can like flip the camera or.
I'm gonna give that a shot.
Yeah, I don't want
to.
Oh,
here we
there
go.
You go. Good job.
Okay, we're walking in now.
Okay. You're coming in from the back, right?
Yeah, that's the back office. This is Nicholas. He's one of my piercers.
Hi, Nicholas. I think I met Nicholas when I came by that day.
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You did. And so this is part of the shop. This is actually the piercing area where Nick works.
Okay.
And this is the rest of it. This is one of my artists, Alex Thomas.
Hello. Hi, Alex.
And a really close friend of mine, Socks.
Hey, Socks.
And the rest of the shop, kind of tight.
Yeah. So you have little like privacy screens if people need to get their tattoo or their piercing in a place that they don't want to be out in the open.
Absolutely, yeah. We protect people's modesty when needed.
Good. That's
This,
good to know.
this is my station, and this actually, I showed up today, and Nicholas bought me all this stuff for Father's Day.
Ah,
Right? Because
Nicholas. See that you guys are a great community there and family. I love that.
right, I adopted him, kind of. So yeah, that's so he didn't have a father figure, and I don't have any kids, so Nick's my kid now.
Good. I like it. I like it. That works for
So
sure.
this is the shop
All right. Well,
from like the
wow,
front
that's
door.
beautiful. So you've got a lot of art on the walls and everything. Do people use that for inspiration or?
I think probably to a degree. They a lot of the it's all the art. A lot of the stuff is people find online these days. It's not really not like it used to be where people would come into a tattoo shop and pick something off the wall. And
Who's your four-legged friend?
oh, here I'll show you. This is Spidey.
Hi, Spidey.
Yes.
You don't look like a Spidey.
No, he's our support puppy.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
He was my mother's dog, and here I'll switch this back around. And she passed this year, so
I'm sorry.
now he's my dog.
Her spirit lives on through Spidey.
He asked me at one point if I would make sure he was okay if anything happened to her, because she was ill and going into the hospital with COVID.
I'm sorry. Oops. Sorry to hear that. That's, it was such a tragic time in our lives. And I mean, we just saw so much so many terrible things happen and so many people devastated in so many different ways. I'm really sorry to hear that.
It was an awful time of life.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
But everything's good for the most part now, so moving on. Okay,
so give us a little quick synopsis, if you can, about your background and your journey to, you're celebrating 5 years at Pacific Sangha Tattoo right now, but before that, I mean, you grew up in Redondo Beach, you were a surfer, and then your career has been crazy.
Yeah, it has. My life has been crazy, but it's been awesome. So I'm one of the few people who could literally be on their deathbed today and be able to say, man, that was awesome.
You're riding the wave, right?
It was, yeah, and especially my older years when I stopped acting like an idiot for the most part. I mean, I still act like an idiot, let's be honest, but
always a kid.
A much more responsible idiot, I guess. So let's see.
Napa? Tell us about Napa.
At one point in my life, I wanted a change, and I moved to Napa and opened a gourmet food, wine, and art store, and which was nothing like I've ever done before. I'd never owned a shop before, so that was crazy.
Good experience for what you're doing now, right?
Great experience for now. I know a whole lot of what not to do. And my life has changed drastically since then. So I make a lot better decisions than I used to.
Well, I think you told me you were doing that. One of the reasons was because your mom wanted to open a shop, right?
Yeah, my mom had this. My sister lives in Napa, has lived for a very long time. And my mom wanted to do this store, and she had talked about it with my sister and whatnot. And I just, like I said, I needed a change of life at the moment. And so I just told I'm not kidding, man. I was talking to her. I went to her work, and I was talking to her with this woman I was seeing at the time, who ended up being my ex-wife, my second ex-wife, I should say. And when we left, we left the office, got in the car, and it just hit me. Why don't you go to Napa and do this thing? And I turned to the woman I was with, and I said, "You want to move to Napa?" And she's like, "Okay." Back upstairs and told my mom, "Hey, we'll do that thing if you want." And she's like, "What?" And I don't know. We just made it happen. It was. I'm definitely the kind of guy who will jump into the middle of the fire and find his way out, as opposed to, I'm just that guy. My dad always jokes and says that I'll never die with any scars on my back because I am face first into everything.
I like that. I like that. So,
Yeah.
and you're also, you had a sailing adventure too in your career.
Yeah. I wanted something. I've had a lot of very unique careers in my life but a lot of them were very dicey. Like, today it's good, tomorrow who knows, and the Napa shop actually went out of business because of 9/11. That we were
Oh, wow.
a tourist-based shop, and tourism was over, so we went out of business. But so I wanted something that was like, I just wanted to bring home a paycheck every week, know how much money I was making, and do that for a while. And I decided I wanted to go work offshore on boats. I've always been an ocean guy. I thought, a boat guy. So I thought, okay, let's do that. So I didn't know how to do that. And I actually went down to Ports of Call in San Pedro and sat in my car for 4 hours until one of the guys got off the tugboat. And I just went, I went up to him, I'm like, "Hey, bro." And he was looking at me like, "What do you want?" Kind of thing. And he probably thought I was there to like collect some money or something, And I'm just like, "Hey, man, I want to work on the boats. How do I do it? Where do I start? What's up?" And he was like, "Wow, okay." So he kind of told me, and I went down to the Coast Guard station, and I just did. I'm pretty obstinate, so I just started knocking on doors till I made it happen. And then for 4 years, I worked on the supply boats for the oil companies. We would supply the goods and the fuel and whatnot to the offshore platforms.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you also, you said right before you opened the shop, you were in the film industry with special effects, right?
No, that was quite a few years ago.
Okay.
Effects. That shoot, I think I stopped doing that when I was like 29 or something like that. And I'm far from 29 right now. No, I was, before I opened this shop, I'd been tattooing for a few years,
Well, Todd, I know that you are usually working the latter part of the day, like you start at 2 and sometimes you go until 10. So I know it's hard for you to join us at the NRBBA meetings that are at 8 o'clock in the morning, but we are going to start having some happy hours. So and up and down the boulevard and with the different businesses in North Redondo. So I'm hoping, maybe you can join us sometime. I'll make sure I let you know when we're doing it. And it's just a good way to get to know all the neighbors. And you're such an interesting guy. I really would love for you to get more involved with our group if it makes sense for you. But it's been a real pleasure talking to you and getting to know you.
Dude, thank you very much. I'd love to go, and this wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. I'm really camera shy, so.
Yeah, no, you're awesome. And, we try to make it pretty casual. So it's just a conversation, but I have to tell you, I don't know if you can see all the people that have been joining us during the while we were talking, but you have a really big fan club.
Oh, that's sweet. No, everybody's awesome. Like I said, my friends, and I am unbelievably blessed, if you want to call it whatever, with I have the most amazing people in my life. So, people say you're lucky if you got, one or two good friends. I have an amazing amount of really good, close friends I love to death. And so.
Well, they say the same thing about you, and a lot of them said it in the chat today. So happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much, Nick, I guess. And
Yeah. You know what? He's your bonus son.
He is.
That's how that works. Okay. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.